Hi everyone and welcome back to another video with me Shruti Vashist from enlightenmentcourses.com. So in this video I'm going to be talking to you about the ascension symptoms that are active now. We are facing some unique ones, and some of the ascension symptoms are common, like you have faced before, but they lead to different results depending on the energy that's active now. So I'm basically I thought it was time for an updated ascension symptoms video because yeah, it just is the last one I made was years ago and I'll link those up here so you can check it out on the right corner of the screen, like the top right, if you want to watch that video. But these ascension symptoms especially relate to this year and what we're going through, because the eclipse energies are so active. And even though the eclipses have happened, the energy is so potent and continues on. It affects us for the next 6 months, and I don't know about you, but I'm really feeling it in the body as well even now. So I'm going to be speaking about all of that, so stay tuned. Subscribe if you are new here, hit the bell notification, give this video a thumbs up. That's how I get to know what kind of videos you'd like to watch from me. Also, I have a quick announcement, and that's that I have this new course called Master Inner Peace. So please check it out. It really will help you with all of these ascension symptoms and lowering anxiety, balancing things out, all of those things. The practices in the course really help me as well. So check out that course and all of the details below this video. It's very affordable and it's a course you can study by yourself. Another thing that's available now is my soul and galactic portraits. So I used to do these many years ago, and then after COVID I basically stopped because I wasn't sure about the shipping and how reliable that would be, to which country. But I brought those back so you can check them out as well. I think you'll really like them. They talk about what you are at a soul level, and that's you'll get a portrait, like a soul portrait, a painting, a bracelet, a gemstone bracelet, and a poem. So there are different levels, the soul level and the galactic level. So again, you can find the details below this video. So I'd actually filmed this video before the introduction and I lost it because it's Mercury retrograde, and that's happening a lot these days. So I'm just gonna start the first point, and then you'll see the footage that I filmed before where I continue on with the first point. So the first point is that I was talking about a lot of knowings that happen. This is one of the ascension symptoms where we suddenly get this knowing, and it's like, all at once, like you just know something. Like you might know what's going to happen in this year for you with the eclipses. That's personally what I've been going through. And yeah, it just is, it's sudden, and it can be overwhelming to the body, even if it's a very positive change. Usually it is. And but when that energy lands in your body, because it's like these energy packets, and light has a higher vibration, so when light enters your body, it comes in the form of these packets, and then it sort of opens up and moves through the body after that. So when it hits you at first, it's like this high, you're feeling this high, like you're riding this wave, and you're on a high. And then in a few days you might feel this low, because that's when the light starts to integrate with the body. It starts to remove and let go of what is old in the body, so that your body is aligned with the new, and that's when the new actually activates in your life and makes changes in your life. So if you're going through that, it's perfectly normal, especially during the time of eclipses and these ascension waves that we have. Yeah, so that's what I'm speaking about in the first point, and let's just continue. So we were talking about a lot of knowing that comes in all at once. And what happens is that, especially during portals like this where we have an eclipse, or when you're between eclipses and your realities are shifting for the year, whether it's an astrological gateway or those more galactic portals that open up, like you have the Pleiadian gateway, the Lion's gateway, and any others, that they may not have a name, but then you feel them, and there's certain energies that are coming in. What happens during these portals of different kinds is that there can be a sudden, because there's this new consciousness that is available to us, and if we are open enough, then it moves through us, and in the way that I described. And then initially you're riding high on the wave. So I experienced this during this eclipse that we just had a week ago. And I was like riding high on the wave. Like the first 2 days were amazing, and I'm getting all of these insights about what I want to do with my life and how the direction is changing, and these big massive changes actually that I can look forward to in 1.5 in during this period of 1.5 years, because when the nodes change sign, the North Node is now in Aries, and the eclipse was a North Node eclipse in Aries. So it was bringing through that potential that we are going to manifest in the next 1.5 years. I made another video on what this eclipse was about, what more than this eclipse, what the North Node in Aries for 1.5 years, what that means, what the forecast is, and I'll upload it. Perhaps I think I would upload it before this video, so it would probably be already available, and I'll link it up here. But the first initial thing is that we're riding high on that energy, and this often happens with Ascension symptoms, and then suddenly there's a lull, like there's this low energy, because that energy entered your body, that higher consciousness. So for 2 days during the eclipse, I think a day before the eclipse and 2 days after or something, I was really high on this energy. More than energy, it's like this change in consciousness that happens. It's this expansion that happens. All of your cells expand and have more light. But then, of course, your physical body that is more dense, it has to go through its changes. So changes for the physical body are a bit uncomfortable, and that we experience later on. So actually during this week I got sick with the flu, which has been going around. I work in a school, and as you know, if you work in a school, you get sick pretty often just with the regular flu, because children tend to have it, and it just sort of and my immunity has been a little bit low because I haven't been taking care of my eating habits all that much in the past few years. So part of that also, with this eclipse, I was getting glimpses into that and how that needs to change. So there's certain activations that are happening for us all the time. But basically, coming back to this point, there's this high that you feel, and when your cells expand, and then you feel a lull. So you might feel like, what happened? I was feeling so good, and suddenly I'm feeling so low. And this is not necessarily a bad thing, because it means that something actually is happening. Like my mom is going through this in a different way. She stopped sugar during this eclipse. I don't think she even knew that, there's an eclipse. I mean, she knew that there's an eclipse, but she didn't consciously time it or anything. It just so happened that this change that she's trying to do. So she doesn't even have that much sugar, but she quit, and suddenly she's been getting these headaches and lower back pain and stuff, and she was wondering what that's about. And then she was reading online, and the headache and everything is related to sugar when you first quit it. So it's a good thing. It's a detox process. So that's the first thing. Then when you get a sudden knowing and these high waves, and then you feel a lull. So all of that becomes more stable. Like it took me a whole week, actually I started filming this video, these videos about the eclipses and the nodes before the eclipse, like 1 or 2 days before the eclipse. And then I got sick, and even something got wrong with I lost some of the footage. Basically it didn't record, or there was some error again. And and I'm refilming now because there's more to say. I'm talking about the whole integration process. Back then I was mainly just speaking about the high waves and some of the other things that were a bit challenging, but mainly it was one side of it, you see. So everything happens for a reason, and this whole process of feeling the highs and then going through the more challenge, and then things integrating and becoming more stable and becoming more material, something that you can use, a quality or a piece of wisdom that you can apply. So that is what happens through this process when the first knowing comes about. So the second thing, the second ascension symptom that is happening now and often happens on the ascension path is disconnection in relationships. So when you're going through these different portals, you're making life changes and you're coming into these different levels of yourself. So we call that the sacred marriage. So you marry yourself at different levels, your soul level. First of all, you'll come into the 5th dimensional vibration by marrying the part of you that is balanced, that is quite balanced between the masculine and the feminine. And you experience divine love. And then you'll marry your soul, which is the 7th dimensional level of you. Then after that, the higher self, which is the 8th dimensional level, the first angelic self part of you. And then there's these higher angelic levels, and then the I am presence, and then your Christ self. So there's these different parts of you that you marry by coming into your own empowerment and coming into the knowing of that level of vibration, and then applying that vibration through the process I just described in the previous point, where you a certain light comes in and it does things to your body, but then you're able to use that wisdom and you're able to identify stuff in the physical and then choose things in a different way. So when you come into a new level of yourself, and it's a higher level of self, it's something that you're still integrating in the body. During that process, you will feel a disconnection in relationships because your relationships were matching the purpose and the level that you had before. And when the you that you know yourself to be changes, then the relationships have to align accordingly. So there is this process initially where you will feel a disconnection, and the disconnection will be larger when the change inside of you is larger. So it's a good thing, again, if you're feeling a large void and disconnection in relationships. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It just means that the shift within you is that deep too. That level of power is landing in you. So with this eclipse, because it's in the relationship signs of Aries and Libra, like Libra is the relationship sign and Aries is me. So it's that beautiful balance between what I am and what I am in relationships, and the balance of that. That I need to meet the needs of both in order to be in balance. So with this eclipse, we're especially feeling that. So initially, it began with disappointment, shame, etc., related to who we are. So I'll give you a very quick example. I saw a post by a friend of mine, and before the post, actually, I had this vision, and it was a vision where she was being, like, she was lifting up in the air, and she was in a white dress and just feeling lighter, and she was saying, it's my time to go. So it was a death-like process, but I knew it wasn't physical death. Like, I have these premonitions, or whatever you want to call them, telepathy, about my friends and what they're going through. Often, I've had them lots of times before, and then whenever they speak to me, I come to know that I was energetically feeling whatever they're describing, and sometimes it's quite literal, the words that they say, or whatever. So that the friend, and as soon as I had this, then I went on Instagram, and guess what I saw? I saw that friend's post. They don't even post very often, and so they'd made a post on Instagram about exactly this, about how I won't get into the subject of what it was, but they were talking about how something is challenging in their life and how now they're feeling lighter. And I wrote in just one line about this vision that I just seen, because I was excited, because I just felt it. And then I open Instagram and I see this. And of course, they know about my path, and they know about the spiritual awakening and everything. And they're just a regular person who's not into all of this. But I just felt it, that I was writing this, and there was a part of me that felt shame, because as I was writing the comment and this vision that I'd had, I knew that they wouldn't really get it. And I found myself explaining, that I had this vision, but it doesn't mean that you're dying. I mean, it's like an emotional transformation. And it was just a sense of shame, even though this person's nice, all of my friends are very accommodating, but it's that sense of, it comes from that sense of not being seen for who you are fully, not being seen in your for all parts of you. And it's okay when those parts of you come up. Even though I've worked a lot on myself, I pretty much live my authentic self. But it's okay for those old emotions to come back sometimes, because usually when they do, it means that a new level of you is landing, and that you're sort of, you take it's like, I come into one level of myself, it's like a dip, and then back to myself, dip, back to myself. So it's like the deeper the dip is, the deeper you're coming into the larger part of you. So if you've been feeling that ever, that's not a bad thing either. Especially if it leads to something greater within you. So I recognize that, instead of falling into shame and just that feeling when it came up, I recognized it. So instead of spending days in it or something like that, wondering and analyzing with the head, it's not like that anymore. For people who are on the path of self-mastery and doing conscious work, they recognize it. So it's not about analyzing with the mind. It's just about knowing that, oh, okay, this is happening. I'm coming into a deeper level of self. I'm a bit sensitive about relationships. It's time to take a step back. And that's exactly what I did. So because I was able to do that, I was able to bounce back easier and quicker too. There was this deep feeling of disconnection from all relationships, which felt like it would take forever to come back to. But because I really allowed that and I really let go, it just took a few days. So this detachment in relationships is also normal when you feel it. Okay, so the third one, I'm trying to move a bit faster. The third one is ear beeping, and I've spoken about this in my other Ascension symptom videos. If I haven't mentioned already in this video, I'll link up the other videos that I've made on Ascension symptoms in case you want to check them out as well. So when your ear beeps, there's this beeping sound or this pressure, you know, like when you get on an airplane and because of the change in the atmospheric pressure, your ear beeps. So you get that normally too when you're on the path of coming into your higher self and your higher levels, because so it can be various things. It's basically the higher levels merging with you. Now when you are still integrating with parts of you, like your soul, your higher self, your Christ self, whatever, it's the dissension of the soul or these higher selves, whichever self it is for you. And when that moves inside of you, when the dissension is happening, then the ear beeps, because it's like that difference in the vibration of the physical body, and when the merge is happening, so that ear can feel it. The other time that we feel it is when one of these higher selves is trying to communicate with us. And I would say there is no difference really when the higher one of your higher self aspects is merging with you versus communicating with you. It's really the same thing. Like, it's like the dissension, like that's coming through. So there's really no difference. To me, its communication is not that I'm right here and this higher aspect of me is up there somewhere, and I'm, there's some source through which I hear stuff. But basically that's what it is. So if you ever feel that and you're wondering what's happening, or even your ear pains for a second, or it's that discomfort, like the ear going numb, like you get when you have a cold. And you maybe feel it, hearing sounds inside of you, like something is landing, like a spaceship or something. So it's kind of hard to describe, and it is unique to each person, but these are just some of the ways I feel it and that it's commonly described. So I hope that some of these things help you. So so when you actually feel that, you can just breathe and just allow it to happen. Allow the merge to happen. If there's any message coming through, it'll come through. If you're supposed to do something or know something, it'll come through in due time or in that moment. The point is to just allow. And the fourth thing is illness. So Ascension symptoms, like you might get some small illnesses, sometimes even big illnesses can happen, but this is a bit of a tricky thing to speak about. And again, I would advise you, if any sort of illness is happening, to go to a doctor. Now, I like ones that are more natural based, like based in the more natural healing methods, but it's really up to you. But a lot of times when it's these basic things like the flu or whatever, things you can manage by yourself, when they happen and you can't figure out the reason because you've been eating well or whatever it is, sometimes during these portals it happens because, again, a higher level of you has merged with you, with your physical body, and whatever is old, like any old programming or any old thought patterns, it doesn't need to be something very dense like karma or whatever that you carry. It's just that you're a physical human, and there's these things happening constantly around you, and we're influenced by that. And or sometimes it's just that something new is coming and something old needs to leave. Old doesn't mean bad, or even at a lower level, it just means it's not the direction anymore. So it can even be just that. So if you're constantly, this is happening, I don't want you to be thinking that how much do I have to heal, like why is there so much old. Old can mean something of a lower nature, but old can just mean something that is no longer needed to, even if it was a higher vibration, something that was very aligned for you before. So these illnesses, flus or whatever, when you get fever or different things happen, it's also a detoxing process, and it sort of resets you in a way. So again, you have to be cautious and work with whoever you work with, like whatever type of doctor. But I really believe that regardless of whichever type of doctor you're working with, the main thing is you, like, the main being that is responsible for you is you, like your own higher self, your angelic self. So that needs to come through rather than leaving your life in the hands of any other human. So that works beautifully together. It doesn't need to be one or the other when you allow that to happen and you have this larger trust and you listen to whatever's there, whatever advice is there, but you listen as your higher self, and then sort of know what to apply. Okay, so the fifth thing, the fifth ascension symptom, and the last one I think, is this feeling of the tunnel before you die. So you might have heard people talk about these near-death experiences where they see the white light and they have a choice whether to go into it and sort of, that's the process of death, or to they speak to like a guide, and then they get some wisdom, and then they come back in body, and they come back with a sense of purpose and a knowing about what to do, and it's like they're more aligned with their mission. They remember it more. But you don't have to die to experience this tunnel and this beautiful state of surrender, and all of that. We are doing this constantly in the body through all of these things that I've been speaking about. Like you go through a small illness, or these knowings, or this disconnection in relationships, feeling like you're all alone and nobody really gets all of you, but then coming back beautifully into the fact that all is me. But these cycles are a part of you as a human. It's the more feminine side of life. So these cycles of sometimes feeling disconnected, then coming back, within the state of grace. It's not that suddenly I'm all emotional and I can't do anything. I'm dysfunctional and then suddenly I'm all there. It's not really that. It's not that intense. It's a lot of deep shifts inside of you, and it's more internal. It's not that on the external. It's just so many changes necessarily. It's more like you're feeling it internally, like you're an ocean and there's a lot of activity that's happening beneath the surface that nobody can see. So that's the best way that I can describe it. So you're constantly going through these shifts, especially when you embrace the path of self-mastery. When you're actually doing it, you will be going through many shifts. You'll be asked by your own self to let go of so many things. And it doesn't mean, letting go, like it won't feel like, it'll feel difficult, like you have to let go of certain relationships or certain relationship dynamics. But even if you're with the person and it requires a whole change of your personality and what you've known yourself to be, like that ego that you've held on to, that you feel that you need to be in order to survive, and you have to let go of that. And on the outer surface, it may or may not look like that big of a change to other people, and sometimes it might, which can also become difficult, because then people react to you in different ways and they relate in different ways. They may not want to associate with you if you have a certain, like a whole change. But this is what is asked of us on the path of self-mastery, whether it's very, very internal and sometimes quite external as well. And you'll constantly be going through these deaths and these rebirths. This is part of life. So this is the death process, and it's quite beautiful. We learn to do it in one lifetime in this human body, rather than having to die again and again, take birth again and again on the planet through the cycle of karma and all of that. So you can just surrender, let go, and come into the next state, even if it has its slight challenges. And then one gets used to it, one trusts the process because you've done it before, where you let go of something you knew yourself to be a certain way, and you let go and you just surrender to the higher order, and it takes you into something even more beautiful, even more expansive, something that is aligned for you for now, and something that involves your service. So it's like, yeah, I won't go into the details, otherwise it'll just become too long. But yeah, so that feeling also comes, the tunnel, before you die, and in encounters with the white light inside of you. So if you have been feeling any of these are Ascension symptoms, and let me know in the comments below which ones of these you have felt, and if you'd like more clarity on any of them or any other comments that you have. We're going through all of these ones that I spoke about now. I've personally been through all of these in the past week during the time of the eclipse. I'm feeling it pretty strongly because I'm in Aries and a Libra. I have planets in both signs. My sun is in Libra and my moon is in Aries. So it's a time of big shifts for me for the next 1.5 years. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe, hit the bell notification like I mentioned, and check out my new course. It's really beautiful, Master Inner Peace. It'll take you through how to really be in a state of grace. It's like this more constant state as you're going through, these big cycles of change and transformation that we always go through as a human, and how to live as that graceful being. It's like that, our angelic state. And if it sounds too lofty to you, it's not like that. I don't present it like that, so you'll be able to follow it perfectly, even if you're a beginner. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. I've been making a few of these, so then check them out, the ones I've made recently as well.